Hi guys, we are going to talk about the mean, the median, the range, standard deviation. But the main thing in this video is we are going to talk about how to find them using a calculator. Okay, so first let's talk about the mean or the average. Let's say these are all your quiz grades. We've given 10 quizzes. Well, how do you get your average or the mean? You will add up those 10 quizzes and divide by 10. So you will have a 79.9 average. Whoops, you just missed that B. Do you think your teacher's going to round it to a B? Anyway, let's carry on. This is a fancy way to talk about the mean or the average. This symbol is the sum. So I'll add up each data item, in this case, each of your quizzes. And I will divide by how many quizzes did we have. This is how we get the average or the mean. Okay, now let's hold that thought and let's talk about the mean for a frequency distribution. Okay, so this table talks about students' stress level from a 0 to 10. So at a 0, you are not stressed at all. And at a 10, you are so stressed out. I also have a frequency. How many students said their stress level was a 0? Only 2. How many students said their stress level was a 5? It looks like 18. How many people said their stress level was an 8? It looks like 26 students had a stress level of 8. This is called a frequency distribution. And this is how I find the mean or the average using the frequency distribution. I would have to take each item and multiply it by how many students said they were stressed at a 3 level or an 8 level. So let's continue talking about this frequency distribution. So if I had 3 students said their stress level was a 2, but that would be 2 plus 2 plus 2, because 3 students said that, that would be 6. If I had 16 students that said their stress level was 4, that would be 4 plus 4 plus 4, and yes, is 16 students. So do you see where we're getting the sum? So 4 times 16, that would be 64. Now this formula, once again, I'm taking each data item, but I'm multiplying it by how often, the frequency, how many students said that was their stress level. So if I did this and added all these numbers up, just like we added all of our quizzes up, our 10 quizzes, we add them up, we got 975. Now, how many students did I talk to? Actually, I haven't talked to any students. I have definitely been self-quarantining, but if I added all these up, it would be 151. So I would take all of the data, add it up, divide by how many students, and so I get the average for all these 151 students. The average stress level is 6.46. Okay, we'll come back to this frequency distribution and how to use it on our calculator in just a bit. Let's quickly talk about the median or the middle. How do you find the median? You put all of your data items in order from the smallest to the largest. If there's an odd number, the median is the number in the middle. If there's an even number, you have to take the average or the mean of the 2 middle data items. So let's look at these 2 problems. Find the median for this data. Well, I will put them in order from the smallest to the largest. There are 5 items. It's an odd number. The median is 90. Okay, let's look at this example. Once again, we must put them in order from the smallest to the largest. There are 10 items, so 10's an even number. Okay, so the middle is between 28 and 34. So I will have to do the mean or the average. So I will add them up and divide by 2. The median of this group of data is 31. Okay, now we're going to start working with our calculator. This is not the stress level one. This is another chart that we're going to work with as we're practicing with our calculator, but I have numbers 1 through 5. How often does 1 show up? Well, just one time. How often does 2 show up? 3 times, etc. So there are 14 data items here. So now I'm doing this the long way. So I have 1, and then there are 3 2s, 2 plus 2 plus 2. How many 3s are there? 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And we add all the numbers up, and there are 14 numbers here. So I divide by 14, and the mean, or the average, of this table with the frequency distribution is 3.21. Okay, now let's talk about the median. Once again, I had to list them all out. So I had only 1, 1. I had 3 2s, 4 3s, 4 4s, and 2 5s. And we just said earlier there are 14 items here, which is an even number. So when I go to the middle and I take the average of the 2 middle data items, the median is 3. Wow, this would take a lot of work if I had to write them out. And especially, remember the first one, it was like 151 students, and this was only 14 items. So let's talk about using this in a calculator. So first of all, get out your calculator and find the stat button. And also, one thing we're going to talk about is list, like list 1, list 2, etc. So on my calculator, the second button is blue. So it may be a different color on yours. But if I hit the second button and the number 2, I am going to be telling my calculator that I am talking about list 2. Okay, so let's carry on. When I hit the stat button, I'll see this menu. Edit and calculate are what we will be using a lot. I will be able to type in list. Now, if I scroll over when I'm on the top line, if I scroll over to calculate, so I went to stat and calculate, then it's going to help me do some of my work. So if I hit the stat button and I'm on the top line, you will see edit. And this is where I can type in list and tell my calculator what information I have. If I hit the stat button and then scroll over to calc, as in calculate, it's going to help me do all of that work. Woohoo! Now, I may only have list 1, but I also may have a frequency list, which is what we will be talking about. And I'm going to be able to find lots of information on my calculator. So here we go. I have numbers 1 through 5, and I have a frequency list. How often did 1 occur? Just 1 time. How often did 2 occur? 3 times. I want to put all of this into my calculator. So I'm going to have to go to the stat button and the edit button. So let's bring up the calculator. So I'm going to hit the stat button. I'm on edit. So hit enter. And here you will see list 1, list 2, etc. So let's enter our list. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's my list 1. Now I'm going to scroll over with my cursor key to my list 2. This is my frequency list. I will enter 1. Remember we said 2 showed up 3 times. So I'll enter 3. How many 3s do we have? That was 4 times. The 4s were 4 times, and the 5 was 2 times. Great. So I have entered. I have gone to the stat button under edit, and I have told my calculator what my 2 lists were. My data and how often it occurred. So now I want my calculator to calculate for me. So I'm going to go back to my calculator, and I'm going to go to stat. I'm going to scroll over to calculate. I'm going to hit enter. I'm just on the 1 variable stats. Yes, I want to do this on my list 1, but I also have a frequency list. And where was it? It was in list 2. So I'm hitting my second button and the number 2, which tells my calculator I'm talking about list 2. I will scroll down to say calculate for me and hit enter. And I get all of this information. So this is what's on my screen. I have the mean of 3.2. I have the sum of my data. When I added all of that up, remember the number of items? 14. Let's go to the next page and let's remind ourselves of what we had. And yes, our mean was 3.21 when we did it by hand. We added everything up and divided because there were 14 data items. And then when I put them all in order and got the median, well, let's go down here in our calculator. And our median, we did find our median was 3. And sure enough, on our calculator, it has the median is 3. The mean is 3.21. Remember when I added everything up, we did get 45, and that is the sum of my data items right there. Are you loving it? You may have to scroll down if you don't see everything on your screen. Okay, I know you're really excited about the calculator now, but let's carry on with some basic things again. The range. The range is the highest data value minus the lowest. So in Honolulu, the hottest day is 89, the coldest day is 61. What is the range in the temperature? The range is 28 degrees, 89 minus 61. Let's talk about the oldest U.S. presidents. Trump is one of our older ones at 70, Reagan 69, Harrison 68, and Buchanan 65. What is the range of their ages? 70 minus 65, the range is 5. Now, what is the average of these ages, or the mean? Well, remember, we added them up, and there are only 4 of them that we're talking about. So we add them up, divide by 4. So the average age of those presidents is 68. So now what we're going to talk about is the standard deviation. The mean of the ages of these presidents is 68. But our first president was 70. So that was 2 years older than the mean. The second one was 69, which is 1 year older. The last one was 65, which is 3 years younger. Now, we are not going to get into how do you find the standard deviation by hand in this video. What we want to know is how to find the standard deviation using a calculator. So I'm going to go back to my calculator, and I'll go back to the stat button. I tell you what, I'm going to clear this data here so it will not get you confused. Okay, so we're starting a new problem. I'm going to go back to the stat button, and I'm editing. I have to tell my calculator the new information, so hit enter. And you know what? I just want to clear all these numbers out so I will not get confused. So I'm going to go to the top, over list 1. I'm going to hit clear. Don't get frustrated. Don't keep hitting clear and say, why are these numbers not moving? Because as soon as you use your cursor and go down, yep, they are gone. So let's enter the ages of these presidents. So 70, enter. 69, enter. 68 and 65. Now, I need to get rid of this list 2. This is not, I don't need this frequency. This was for my other problem. Once again, to clear it out, go all the way to the top, to the L2. Hit clear. I know, it's not clearing until you use your cursor key and go down, and you will see that it's gone. I want my calculator to calculate for me. So I will go back to my stat button and go over to calculate. I will stay on number 1, the one variable statistics. And I do have a list 1. Great. Now remember, I didn't have a frequency list here. So scroll down and hit clear. You got to get that out. Go down to calculate, hit enter. Wow, and there's we did get 68 was the mean or the average age. Oh, this is our standard deviation right here. I can scroll down and see more information here. How many items did I have? I only had 4 data items. What was the minimum age of these 4 presidents? 65. What was the maximum age? 70. Let's get back to our PowerPoint. So what we did, we went to Stat and Edit. We entered these 4 data items. We had to make sure we cleared out list 2. And then we went to Stat, Calc, one variable. We made sure we removed list 2. And this was the information you got. And yes, the mean was 68. Standard deviation. I see the minimum. I see the maximum. I see the median. Here are the ages. And I could have done this by hand because there are only 4 items. Add them up, divide by 4, I got my mean. But, oh, isn't it nice to see it right over there in my calculator? My median. I could put them in order. There are 4 items, so I took the middle 2 and took the average, 68.5. But, oop, there it is. And the range. Well, I can see the largest minus the smallest. There's a range of 5 years, but I see it here also. But now what I did not do by hand was the standard deviation, and it is sitting right here. Okay, all done. Good luck using your calculator.